Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Death Metal Disco Podcast. I'm James, your host, and because apparently all the singers that I've seen that have podcasts also mention the bands that they sing for, and my band is Empyrean Eclipse. Feel free to do with that whatever you want. I just thought it pertinent to put out there, because other people do it, and I'm one of those monkey see, monkey do motherfuckers, so monkey has done. I just want to apologize in advance for whatever mouth noise I am giving out right now, because my mouth is dry as fuck, and I don't know why. I am not on the marijuana. I ate a few hours ago, and ever since then it just is super dry. I've been drinking a lot of water. I've had I think this is liter number 5, maybe 6 that I have in my hand right now, and it doesn't seem to be doing anything for me. But I also had band practice today, and even though I drink water while we do those, I think that has an effect. Also, my sinuses are killing me, and if you hear any weird background noise, my cat is freaking out. It was her birthday on Friday, the 29th, and I think she's rediscovered the remaining catnip that I left on the floor for her, so it's time for fucking freak out mode, which is adorable. She's 14 years old, so it usually only lasts like 15, 20 minutes. On Friday, it lasted a full hour, and then she slept the entirety of the day, more so than usual. So I'm going to be honest, I had nothing planned for an episode. In fact, I thought about just saying fuck it and being super lazy and not even recording one to put up. But I thought that might be rude, because some people have told me that they look forward to the episodes, and that's really cool. Like, this is episode number 10. It blows my mind that I have successfully created and uploaded 10 of these motherfuckers, and it blows my mind even more that people have listened to and continue to listen to these episodes. I don't know what the listenership is going to be like when I go back to doing the solo episodes like this one, where it's just me. I don't have a rock star in the house available to talk to at the moment, so no 2-hour long session of shenanigans. And if you did listen to the last episode in the kitchen with Greg Burgess of A Legion, I truly thank you. That was a fun session. I don't even call it a session. It's hanging out with my friend, and we just happened to record it, which is a thing that's come up amongst mine and several friends many times about, hey, we should just record. Just hang out and just shoot the shit. Some of those friends I don't talk to anymore. They don't talk to me, I guess, kind of a two-way street. But, we've definitely talked about just recording our conversations, but it's also evidence. So maybe it was better we never did. Anyway, if you did listen to the last episode with Greg, or any of my episodes for that matter, I can't thank you enough for doing so. If you've shared the podcast, I thank you. To the moon and beyond, or whatever. Just know that you have my thanks. If you've texted me, let me know you listen. That's fucking awesome too. I really do. I don't think I have much to say, but apparently I can fill up a little bit of time rambling about shit, and people tend to I guess they dig it at least a little bit, enough to at least play it and maybe have the sound on while they play it. So at least I get the views and all that shit, which is cool. But if they're actually listening, that's even cooler. Like, I don't expect people to listen to it. I never did. I was reluctant to start this thing. But if you are and you do listen to it, if you have listened to it even once, even just one episode, thank you for that. And keep up the good work. Again, I apologize for all the mouth noise. I cannot get it rectified. I'm trying. So, sorry. If you're an ASMR person, maybe you're into it. Which definitely sounds like stirring macaroni and cheese. And nothing else, nothing dirty. It doesn't sound like anything dirty. Maybe a little bit. So since I didn't have anything planned to talk about as per usual, and I was definitely on the fence about even recording an episode, I don't have anything particular that I need to get off my chest or anything. If you have been paying attention to the news, you've seen the stock market is crazy. I'm not going to talk about that. Although I think if you are buying into the GameStop, AMC, Nokia stuff, it's incredibly risky. And good luck if you're doing it and it works out well. That's fucking awesome. But just know that it's risky the way it's happening, and it's not cool at all. But I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not qualified to talk about that shit. It's just an interesting chain of events that's happened this past week. Gotta love the social world. What I do want to talk about, just briefly, which means it could be anywhere from just a minute to, half hour, is synth wave music. Do you know what synth wave music is? I did not know what synth wave was until about 2 weeks ago, and I found it by accident on YouTube as a suggested video, which is weird because nothing I watch on YouTube even remotely translates to synthwave, but it's music, and I do listen to a lot of stuff on YouTube for music, especially if they have videos, because obviously music videos are cool, and MTV is no longer MTV. It's just nonsense TV. NTV, I'm going to call it that. RTV, reality TV. JTV, junk TV. MTV sucks, so yeah. YouTube is where it's at if you want to see videos of, music videos and whatnot. But anyway, synthwave, particularly the band Gunship. Not gonna lie, the thing that caught my attention for Gunship and got me to watch it and listen to it was the thumbnail of the video, and the video is for the song called Dark. The video is for the song "Dark All Day," which it turns out is a song about the movie Lost Boys, and I like it a lot. Like, I'm a huge vampire nerd anyway, not Twilight vampires, fuck those guys, but, legit cool vampires. Lost Boys, in particular, is one of my favorites. I didn't know it was about Lost Boys until I actually watched the second video for it, which is actually the first, because the song I listened to first was the remix of the song Dark All Day, and I loved it. Fun fact about James, I actually do like a good bit of EDM and techno. I can't get into the subgenres between what is trance and house and trap and blah, blah, blah. Dubstep, I do like a lot of dubstep. Specifically, Bass Nectar is like my dubstep hero. That guy puts out some quality shit. And judge me all you want. I know this is the Death Metal Disco podcast, and I'm a death metal head. But, you can't just pigeonhole yourself into one thing. It's stupid to do so. And I think that's a big problem with people, is that they just, I'm just going to listen to this. Everything else is garbage. If you're elitist about the music you listen to, I just don't think it's going to work out well for you. Although, granted, there are bands out there that are fucking terrible that I actually will listen to. If somebody says, hey, check this out, I'll listen to anything somebody sends me, except for the Florida Georgia Line. Modern country is terrible. I won't get into that. Anyway, synthwave. Gunship. I don't really know anything about them, but this album is the second album of theirs, I think. I'm not sure. Didn't do any research, but this Dark All Day song, the regular album version is fucking cool. I saw that second. The video for that is really cool. It's like an animated version of The Lost Boys, which is fucking awesome. I love that goddamn movie. But the way I found them again was the thumbnail of the remix video. Remix song video. The video for the song that was a remix of the original. And the remix is more of an EDM style song, and by Power Glove, who I think is another, I don't know if they're a synthwave or if they're an EDM conglomerate or what the fuck you call them. I have no idea. But it's the Power Glove remix, the Dark All Day Power Glove remix, the Dark All Day Power Glove remix. So for this Dark All Day Power Glove remix, the thumbnail for the video on YouTube was I don't know if you could call her scantily clad, but it looked like a very attractive female figure with red hair. And she looked wet as though it were raining. And so naturally, because I'm a sucker for a sexy redhead, I was like, let's check out this video. And I thought the thumbnail would just be clickbait kind of for the video itself. But it turns out, it's actually some smoking hot redhead chick dancing in a rain machine and all that, with little bits of stuff from the original video thrown in, but those were few and far between because the vibe between both songs is completely different. But yeah, I don't know if the girl in the video is the singer that they had on that song, because she does not sing for the band normally. She has her own thing. Her name's Indiana. I think she's British. I have not yet listened to her stuff, but the voice, her voice on this track is actually very good, and it suits the track a lot. And this remix version, I'm not gonna lie, if I had a playlist called Sexy Time, which I can neither confirm nor deny the existence thereof, it would be on there. To me, it's just a sexy song. Like, I dig it. But anyway, back to Synth Wave. So I listened to that, and then I listened to the original version by Gunship. And I'd never really heard Gunship before. I'd seen a lot of like thumbnails of other videos friends of mine had posted for Gunship, and they all look like that retro 80s neon light type of shit, which is half the reason I never listened to them. Nobody ever said, hey, you should check this out. But trust me, if you're open to new music, and you kind of like the old school 80s Euro electronica type shit, check out fucking Gunship and Synth Wave. I have not Googled Synth Wave bands myself to find more. I know they're out there. But if you have suggestions on Synth Wave music that I should listen to, definitely hit me up. Let me know what I should check out. I'll, find the time to check out new music whenever I can. And if it's good, fuck yeah, dude, I'm all about it. If it's not good, whatever. Thanks for the suggestion. But if you have any synthwave recommendations that are not Gunship, feel free to send them my way. So as it turns out, I was saving this, the raw recording to my computer, because I'm a big fan of save often, which, save your work and save it often so you don't have to fucking, you don't lose everything. And when my day job in public safety technologies, that's a big thing where we save our work. We don't want to have to lose shit and try and recover it or start over again. And that same thing applies to voiceover and then this podcast, because I can record, like right now, this track is almost 16 minutes long of raw audio, and I would be really upset if I had to attempt to re-record this. But anyway, I was going to save this to my fucking computer, and I realized that this is not episode 10 and that I'm an idiot. It's episode 9. And numbers are hard, and I don't math very well. So, which is probably why I'm also not qualified to talk about the Wall Street shenanigans of this past week. Anyway, it's episode 9. And thank you for checking out episode 9 and all the other episodes. Back to the thumbnail. No longer caring about Synthwave. But again, if you have Synthwave suggestions, send them my way. But the thumbnail, those who know me best know me that I'm attracted to pretty attractive redheads. And they're kind of a weakness. I mean, really, a pretty girl is a pretty girl. And I'm an equal opportunity employer or equal opportunity appreciator of pretty women. I don't know what to say. Anyway, I like pretty girls. I like girls. And if they happen to be pretty and they're cool, then cool. If they happen to be cool, that's cool too. But, I don't know what I'm trying to say. But anyway, this fucking redhead on the thumbnail was smoking hot. So I had to check it out. Back to Synthwave. And the EDM remix. I don't know if you can call it an EDM remix, but it kind of had definitely a EDM vibe, but not so dancey. I'm a very huge bass head, not gonna lie. If anything has a crazy good beat, I'm a fan. If it has a beat that is super heavy on the bass, I'm a bigger fan. And I always have been. And I love, and that's half the reason I love dubstep. The whole definition behind dubstep is the fluctuating, I don't know what they call it, pulsating bass, I guess, is a whoa, 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 that type of shit. I'm a huge, that's the only reason really that I dig the techno music that I do. is just the bass lines, and I love it. It penetrates my soul, hits me in my heart, pulls on the fucking strings in my heart, and it makes me get my groove on. Like if I'm cleaning my house or, doing anything that's kind of tedious and I don't want to be too distracted by the music. So if I listen to my normal fucking death metal and all that, I might jam out a little too much and not get stuff done. But if I'm listening to something EDM, dubstep, whatever, any of those things, I'm likely to get a little bit more done because it's kind of just got that consistent groove to it. But anyway, I'm a bass junkie. And I'm pretty sure I've always been a bass junkie. I know one catalyst of my bass appreciation stems from my childhood. I don't remember what grade I was in. The Pope came to Colorado over the summer. I want to say it was 93 or 94. Stand by, I'm going to Google that shit. Sorry about that. I Googled it, and it was 1993. And I was 13, and it was the summertime, and the Pope had come to town, which has nothing to do with my story, other than the fact it also happens to be my mom was out of town for like a week or two, some sort of festival thing. I cannot remember what the fuck it was. Metaphysical shenanigans that she had ventured off to the mountains for, I think. I don't remember what it was called. But anyway, we lived in these townhouses that were like a row of 4 across a little sidewalk from another row of 4. And on our block, it was the only set of multifamily homes, and everything else was single-family homes. And in these townhouses, across from us, the building across, and one over, there used to be this kid whose name I don't remember because he was a little bit younger than me, but his cousin had come to town for the summer to stay with him. Well, stay with his aunt and him and whatever. And she was 17, and her name was Carrie. I remember her vividly. And I was 13, and she was 17, and she was my first legit crush. Like, I genuinely liked her. Granted, I'm 13, so pretty much anything with boobs caught my attention. And boobs did she have. Holy moly. Yeah, so anyway, she was the first redhead that I had fallen for, or as my friend Mondo likes to remind me, put it on a pedestal for. But, she was 17, I was 13. She was my babysitter for that whole time. So that was my first redhead experience. So now when I see redheads, she's actually the first thing I think of, which is fucking weird. So back to this thing about Carrie. Carrie was from North Carolina or South Carolina, maybe Georgia. I can't remember. Somewhere. It didn't matter. She lived across the sidewalk from me. Gorgeous girl. But the thing with her is she listened to very bass heavy hip hop and showed me some things. Her aunt in their townhouse had a really, really nice stereo system with big ass speakers and whatever. And she showed me this song called Munchies for Your Bass by a hip-hop rap group called Nemesis. And I used to have their tape. I think I do have I don't know if I have their whole album. I think they only did one. I think I have just the single of Munchies for Your Bass on my iTunes. But it's got a pretty deep bass line to it. And it's nothing crazy. It's a sex song. But yeah, I don't know if you ever saw that Howard Stern Private Parts where Jenna Jameson sits on the speaker while he talks. Well, she actually did that while we were over at her house one day. And it was me, her, and my friend Chris and I can't remember the other kid's name. Daniel? Chris and Daniel. We were at her house, and she's like, you got to check this out. And she put the speaker on the ground and sat on it while this song played. And maybe that's why I love bass, and maybe that's why I love redheads. I'm not entirely sure. So that's a cool story. Yeah, so that's my story about redheads and why I watched a fucking music video for a band I'd never heard of with a remix of a song I'd never heard of. And turns out I like them a lot. So Synth Wave, send me your fucking Synth Wave suggestions. I don't know if I should even bother with this episode. This is so fucking ridiculous. It's I'm not even drinking right now. Maybe I should. Anyway, that's roughly 20 minutes of our lives we'll never get back. Maybe it's time to take a break. So you've been listening to me ramble on for quite some time about this, that, and the other. So allow me to ramble on briefly about how I operate this podcast. There's lots of options for how you want to post and host your podcast and put it out into the world. I did a lot of research on mine, and for me, I decided to go with Anchor.fm. If you haven't heard of Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. First of all, it's free. That was a big selling point to me. Free is good. I like free. There's also tools for creation to help you record and edit your podcast from your phone or your computer or your tablet or whatever you're using. I find that to be effective. So we got free, we got recording and editing, both big deals, because they are. Anchor will also distribute your podcast for you. So it can be heard on Spotify, it could be heard on Apple Podcasts, it could be heard on Google Podcasts, and many, many more. That is a huge time saver because I don't have to go to each of those things to upload. So I like that distribution right then and there. And again, it's free. You can make money from your podcast if you're into that kind of thing with no minimum listenership. That could be cool. I think you should try it. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So if you've been on the fence about making a podcast and the only thing holding you back is how you want to host it or create it or whatever, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It's worth it. So even though it's not for another 2 weeks, really, Valentine's Day is coming up. And I fucking hate Valentine's Day. And it could be for a variety of reasons. Envious that I don't have a Valentine's and haven't had a Valentine's for upwards of 20 years. Actually, 20 years this year. My first real girlfriend and I, we had a Valentine's celebration back in 2001. And exactly a year after that, my next girlfriend broke up with me over the phone on Valentine's Day. Or at least confirmed that we were no longer a thing, because it was ambiguous at best. But even beyond that, I fucking hated Valentine's. And it's coming up, and things are a little... I'm more capable of doing stuff for Valentine's this year if you compare it to last year where I was all fucked up in the hospital on Valentine's Day. But that's not what I'm bringing up. I am bringing up an Uber story, and not like Uber as in greater than everything else, but Uber as in the rideshare platform. I used to do Uber as a driver and Lyft, and I actually did it for about 5.5 years. I stopped doing it in 2019, just officially stopped doing it, and sometimes I miss it, especially when I look through my Facebook memories, and sometimes I'll post stories about my evening of driving, and those stories are kind of entertaining. And people are like, dude, you should totally share some of these on your podcast. And I was like, dude, maybe I will. So here we are. So this particular Valentine's Day story is about Valentine's Day night. So the night of Valentine's Day, where all the good shit's going down. I believe it was a Saturday, maybe a Friday, I can't remember. And I want to say it was 2014 or 2015, maybe 16. I'm going to say 15 to be safe, 2015. I could just look and see because I'm pretty sure it was a Saturday too. I don't care enough, and you don't care enough, so I'm not going to. Typically, I would drive Friday nights and Saturday nights, either or. When I was dispatching, I was working a lot of overtime, so I wouldn't usually do both nights, maybe one of those nights, but it was always nighttime. Seems like I'm pretty good with the intoxicated crowd, and they're my people. I guess they like to have a good time, you might say. So it was Valentine's Day, and as jaded and cynical about Valentine's Day as I am, I wasn't super enthusiastic about it, but I was like, I'm sure it'll be fine. I started kind of early that evening. It was probably right around 6:30, 7 o'clock. I usually would get gas and make sure the car was clean, and then I'd go online and wait for my pickup. And so I went online and waited for my pickup, and sure enough, it was from this restaurant called The Perfect Landing in Centennial, which is basically on the property for the Centennial Airport, which is a small private airport. I'm pretty sure it's mostly jets and shit. People doing their flying lessons and all that crap out of that airport. But it was at this restaurant, which I had never been to. Didn't think it was supposed to be a classy place, but after Googling a little bit after this evening, it is a very classy place. So I get this trip request from the Perfect Landing restaurant, and I'm like, all right, first trip of the night. Let's see how it goes. It's Valentine's Day. You know, maybe it's a happy couple in love or whatever. So I get up there, and when I get to the restaurant, it's actually, they have this roundabout out in the front, and you could drop off, and I don't know if they had valet service there or anything like that, but I pull up and I park in the front and I wait, and there's a guy who's gotta be in his mid to late 40s in a very ill-fitting suit. Like, it's just a baggy suit, and it kind of looked like it was just hanging off of him. He did not look, I mean, he didn't look bad. It was just kind of frumpy, and he had like a bag of leftovers, maybe flowers. I can't remember what the fuck he was holding, but he's standing there looking goofy, and he walks up to the passenger side window, and I roll it down, and he asks if I'm there for, I think her name was Lisa, or that's the customer's name. And he asked if I was there to pick up Elisa. And I said, yes, I am. He's like, okay, she's just inside using the restroom. She'll be out in a minute. Is that okay? I was like, yeah, why would that not be okay? You can get in the car if you want to. You could wait there, whatever. And he's like, she'll just be a minute. And he seemed really concerned that I was talking to him and she's not out there. So anyway, he's standing there all frumpy, and he looked like he was in relatively good shape, like not uber fit or anything, but not a big piece of shit fat guy like me. But just this suit that was hanging off of him. It was just a plain gray suit with a white shirt and a tie, and it looked too big for him. Like maybe he borrowed it, or maybe he got it when he was bigger and lost a bunch of weight. He looked like a depressed middle-aged man. If you could picture one of those in your mind, that's what he looked like. So we're waiting. I'm still in the car. I have the window cracked. It's cold because it's February. And out of the restaurant comes this smoking hot brunette. Just a stunning girl. And not stunning as in like she looked young and full of life and beautiful and everything, but just she looked probably the same age as him, but you could tell she's had a lot of work done. She was pencil thin and had massive boobs, like bigger than my head boobs. And I was confused, and she's talking to him, he's talking to her. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I could tell they were talking, and I was confused about how that was a thing. That was my customer, and she was dressed to the nines. She looked fantastic, and he looked like a frumpy Gus. So immediately my brain, I talk about not judging a book by the cover, but we all fucking do it, and I'm guilty. And I like people watching, and half the fun of people watching is not necessarily judging, but trying to figure out people's situations based on what you're seeing. I talk about her getting work done. She had, just massive fake boobs and pencil thin body. I'm not entirely sure she had a butt at all, but that doesn't matter. She looked good, but you could tell she was older. Her face had a lot of work, lips done, blah, blah, blah. You could just tell that she was not one to shy away from plastic surgery and cosmetic surgery, blah, blah. She owned it, and she did a damn good job of owning it. He, on the other hand, my mind started going towards, what is this situation? Is this I was trying to, give them the benefit of the doubt in my brain that maybe he works in finance and accounting, and she's in sales, or she's a receptionist, or she's eye candy for the CEO, or whatever. Something along the lines of, this is sort of a date / we work together, let's just go get dinner on Valentine's so we're not alone type of thing. But at the same time, I am, especially after this trip, which I'll tell you about, I'm fairly convinced she was a high-end escort, and he was just a lonely dude on Valentine's Day. And I don't judge either of them for that at all. But that's what I'm thinking, and here is why. So he opens the back passenger side door, and she gets in, slides over to be behind me in the driver's seat. Well, driver's side. And she was little. She was maybe 5. Well, she was wearing heels, so I'm not entirely sure how tall she actually was, but I scooted my seat up a little bit, give her a little more room, and he sat in the passenger side, and I had that passenger front seat slid, moved all the way up to the front. Give him a lot of room, because most of the people, I try to get them to sit there anyway, so I don't have to move my fucking seat. And I drive a little Volkswagen Golf GTI, and it's not exactly a big car, so if, get a couple people in there, let me keep the room that I can if I'm able. So she's sitting behind me, he's sitting behind the passenger side. And she says hi, and she's very pleasant and sweet, and I say, hey, and then I get her address, and we got about a 20-25 minute drive ahead of us going to what I presume is her house. I'm not sure. At least at the time, I'm not sure. I found out it is her townhouse, but anyway, 25-minute drive-ish. As we depart, I can hear them talking, and by them, I mean mostly her. I can hear her voice, and I can hear him whisper, and I couldn't tell what she was saying. She had a more feminine voice than he did, and then he would whisper like that, and I couldn't tell what he was saying, but it was weird. It was about 5-minute drive from the restaurant to the main street, Arapahoe Road. That would connect us to Parker Road, and then we'd be on our way to her house a little more quickly after that. But it was about 5 minutes to get from the restaurant front door to Arapahoe Road. And in that 5 minutes, apparently she had taken off all of her clothes. All of them. And when she had come out, she was wearing heels, she was wearing jeans, she had a blouse tucked into her jeans, and she looked really good, and I'm sure she had a bra on because those boobs were huge, and, she looked really good, but she had taken off all of her clothes. I didn't know that had happened at first. She'd just done it. And in that 5 minutes, there was a discussion between the two of them that I could not figure out. All I knew is that she had turned to face him, so her back was actually against the back of my seat, so she was kind of sort of pushing against my seat with her body, and I couldn't really tell, couldn't see her in my mirror at all. All I could see was some of her hair. She was a brunette, and couldn't tell what they were talking about. But we get to Arapahoe Road. I had heard her say a few times, "Oh, I'm sure he's fine with this. He's like a taxi driver. They see all kinds of weird shit." I'm like, "Oh, what's going on back there?" I'm thinking, is my car about to be defiled? I haven't even defiled my car. I definitely don't want strangers to defile my car. Is that what's happening? So I'm trying to think of what's going on, but I still can't see anything. It's dark, and I hear her say probably 2 or 3 times, "I'm sure he's okay with it. I'm sure he's seen some crazy shit." So now I'm thinking, okay, yeah, they're trying to get it on, or at least she's trying to get it on. And I was like, oh, okay. So I'm listening a little more intently, and thinking this is going to be a very interesting trip. So we get to Arapahoe Road, and we turn onto Arapahoe Road. It's been maybe 5 minutes, maybe. And she turns around, and she leans between the seats to talk to me. And all I see is she had a face, and it was attached to her head, and her head was on shoulders, which supported some massive naked boobs. And I was surprised she could fit them between my seats, honestly. And she had put most of her torso between the seats, and her boobs were kind of on my arm, and I was like, whoa, it freaked me the fuck out. Definitely wasn't expecting that. And so she goes, "Excuse me, sir." And I say, "Yes, ma'am." And she goes, "How long you been doing this?" And I said, "Oh, 1.5 years, 2 years maybe. If it was 2015, 1.5 years, 2 years, something like that." And she goes, "Oh, you like it?" I said, "Yeah, most of the time." And she goes, "You've probably seen some crazy shit, haven't you?" And I said, I've seen some things here and there. And I'd seen some, fights when I'm downtown, and occasional interesting things, but nothing too insane." And I said, "Oh, I've seen a couple things." So I tell her that. I just keep it very general. And she goes, "Well, what's the craziest thing you've seen? And we're stopped at a stoplight, and I look directly at her, and I eyeball the situation that's happening, and boobs and all. And they were very nice. Kudos to her surgeon. And I said, well, this definitely takes the cake as far as the craziest shit I have seen in this car, doing this job or otherwise. And she says, oh, really? And I was like, yeah, because apparently she must think that everybody just gets naked when they get in my car, which would be generally a pretty cool thing if that was like a requirement or a bonus thing. Hey, thanks for the ride. Get naked. But at the same time, it's also terrifying and scary. But yeah, she was surprised by that. And she goes, oh, that's interesting. I said, oh, is it? She goes, yeah. She's like, all I want to do is have a little fun with him here in the back seat. And he's afraid because he knows it's your car. And I said, yeah, it is my car. And she goes, do you care if anything goes on? I was like, well, I'd like to keep it clean. And I was like, well, if you feel like making out and being naked, do whatever you're going to do. And she said, well, he's just not into it. He's afraid to even talk about it out loud. He's only whispering. And I said, oh, okay. So as we're having this discussion, I'm like, well, in my brain, I'm thinking I need to remain professional. I don't need to be accused of sexual harassment by a girl who is very, very, very naked in my car. And I don't need to be accused of being unprofessional. I don't want to lose the job with Uber. So I was professional. I was, that's, I don't have any response for that. In my brain, I'm thinking, well, you should just slide your naked ass on up to the front seat and we can have a chat. But because I'm the consummate professional and truly a motherfucking gentleman, I said no to saying anything like that out loud. Now, in my brain, I was giving a TED talk on how that would be a good idea, but out loud, I kept it quiet. So shortly after the end of that conversation, we still got about 15 minutes ahead of us, and I'm driving, and it's dark, and I have not super dark tinted windows, but nobody could see them unless a light flashed in or we turned on lights or anything like that. And I had even adjusted my mirror just so I could make sure that if something gets crazy, that I can either A, enjoy the show or, pull over and kick them the fuck out, whatever. Hadn't decided what I was going to do, is depending on what, if anything, I would see, which I really couldn't see anything because it was dark as fuck, except for her. Like, you could tell she tanned, but she still, glowed in the dark. You could tell she tanned, but her skin still had a bit of a shine to it, which, whatever. Good for her. She kept in good shape, and I'm pretty sure she was mid-40s at least. Anyway. So the rest of the ride, I can hear her trying to convince him that it's okay. And he would whisper, and that was about it. That was the whole ride, was her naked in the back, trying to convince him that it's okay to fool around back there while she's butt-ass naked. And she even asked me again, she's like, sir? I was like, yeah. She goes, what's wrong with me? And I said, excuse me? And she goes, you saw my tits, right? And I said, excuse me? And so she leaned through the seat again, and she made sure that I saw her boobs and asked me about her boobs. And I said, yes, they're fantastic. And I said it in a way that wasn't creepy, I think. Maybe it was creepy. I don't know. If you're asking about, somebody's opinion of your boobs and they say, oh, they're fantastic, hopefully you're not creeped out by that. Hopefully you're like, oh, thank you. But I don't know. So I tell her, I was like, oh, yeah, they're fantastic. And she goes, I am completely naked back here, and he is just not interested in even touching me right now. I said, oh, that's a shame. And this is all what was making me think that this was a paid escort situation. She was trying to make sure he gets his money worth, I guess, and whatever. So the whole drive was her trying to convince him, and we get to her. She lives in some townhouses, and we get to her townhouses. She tells me where to go, and I say, cool. We pull up, and we're at the garages. So I stop in front of the garage that is hers, and she says, thank you, sir. I said, oh, yeah, you bet. She's like, hang on, it's going to be a minute. I got to get back. I got to get dressed again. And he gets out, and as he's getting out, she grabs onto his junk, and apparently, and she said this out loud, oh, now you're ready to play. And I was like, oh, well, I'm glad he kept it together for the whole ride, because I didn't really need him to have that out in my car. I was going to be kind of upset and sad if he gets lucky in the car before I did. And really, I just didn't want another dude's junk out in my car. Yeah, I guess that's probably common. Like, so anyway, she's getting dressed again, and she was being very thankful for my patience and whatever, and they tipped me really well. I think she gave me a $50 tip, if I remember correctly, and which was awesome. Like, okay, cool. So I was like, oh, this is my first trip of Valentine's Day this year, and so far we're off to the races with full nudity and what I think is an escort situation. So I was super excited to continue driving the rest of the night. And alas, nothing else the rest of that night was noteworthy at all. Picked up some people from restaurants and took them home. It was actually surprisingly slow, and I'm thinking that's because they had, dozens upon dozens upon dozens of other Uber drivers out. Yeah. So then I told my friends in dispatch about this lovely lady who decided to disrobe in the back of the old GTI, and they're like, dude, you got to get a dash cam. Yeah, you need a dash cam to record these fucking crazy things that happen. And then I did, and nothing really crazy after that ever happened. It was pretty rare. The only other things that happened was arguments, and I had two couples that appeared to break up. One girl showed me her boobs again because her boyfriend showed his brother some other girl's boobs that he had in his phone, and she took great offense to that, understandably so. And so she needed an opinion that was not her boyfriend's, apparently. So she showed me her boobs, asked me what I thought, and I said, oh, those are nice. And then we got into their apartment complex, and she opened the door and bolted and just took off running. And her brother, or her boyfriend's brother, was like, dude, is she okay? He's like, I don't know. We probably just broke up. And I was like, this is such a weird fucking drive. Yeah, nothing ever cool, like full nudity ever happened again. And that's probably good in the grand scheme of things, but sometimes I miss being an Uber driver. I also miss knowing hot redheads with big boobs from my childhood. I wonder what Carrie's up to these days. I probably don't want to find out, but sometimes I wonder. Anyway, this has gone on long enough, and if you want more Uber stories, just be an Uber driver and drive at night, even though right now with everything being all 25% capacity, clubs aren't open, that type of thing, probably not nearly as interesting as the potential it used to have. But maybe I'll find other stories. Occasionally they pop up in my Facebook memories, and if I find anything notably cool or funny, I'll make a note of it and maybe share it with the rest of you. Anyway, again, thank you for listening. Hit me up on Twitter at DeathDiscoPod, should you feel so inclined. Instagram at DeathMetalDisco. I think it's at DeathMetalDiscoPod. Facebook, Death Metal Disco Podcast. Hit me up. Let me know what you think or what you want to hear about or what you want to talk about even. And if you have something to suggest, feel free to let me know. I am always open to suggestions. I got a couple friends whose podcasts are dropping in the next week or two. My friends at The Lost Chill. If you're a big fan of literature, they are doing the literature thing, and they'll do a great job. I listened to their intro episode from last week, and it was really good, Katie and Kimmy. I look forward to actually listening to you guys talk about books. I might not read these books, but you should listen to it. If you're a reader, they'll have suggestions, and more detailed suggestions and reviews of the books than I could ever even think of. I'll usually say, oh yeah, this book is fucking great, or was not so great. But again, I'm not a super avid reader like they are. Got another friend whose podcast, I believe they're recording the first episode next weekend. So I think within the week after that, it'll actually drop, and it's called The Power in You. And that's going to be more of like a, from what I gather, like a self-help, or maybe not a self-help since they're helping you, but, a guide to mental health and how to enhance your life and blah, 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 those types of things that are inspirational and good. And I'm looking forward to that too. Richie, I don't know his co-host, haven't met her, but Richie's a solid guy, and looking forward to checking that out. So I hope you guys have a great week. My week is going to be filled with 4 days of video conferencing. And that's going to be... I'm going to need a lot of caffeine. So I think I'm going to the store first thing tomorrow morning. Anyway, be safe. Love you all. Thanks for checking me out. And if you haven't checked out the episode with Greg, or if you want to know how Allegiant got started as Allegiance, the 2 episodes prior to this, the one titled Allegiance and In the Kitchen with Greg Burgess, are both about those things. So if you're interested in that, give it a listen. And if you're not, give it a listen. Or don't. I'm not your dad. I might be your daddy, though. I love you all. See you soon.